You guys asked me to do an on-chain analysis of Bitcoin. Well, today I'm going to pull back the curtains and show you all the on-chain evidence of why Bitcoin will hit $100,000. This could be one of the most important Bitcoin episodes that you'll ever watch, so you don't want to miss it. We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it.
Welcome to the greatest show on earth!
dudeHODL.
Welcome to the world's most electrifying and informative crypto show. I'm your host, dudeHODL, and in this video, we'll be going through the on-chain metrics and technical analysis showing why Bitcoin is about to skyrocket. So why is on-chain analysis important? It is because it is a leading indicator of Bitcoin's price. Now, this could be one of the most important Bitcoin episodes that you'll ever watch, so you want to watch to the end of the video. Let's get into it. So let's start off by looking at the exchange reserves. So from this graph, we can see that the black line represents the price of Bitcoin, and the blue line represents the amount of Bitcoin on the exchanges. Right now, the amount of Bitcoin on the exchanges has reached an all-time low. Currently, it's sitting at 2.3 million Bitcoins on all exchanges. So what this tells us is that the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges are extremely low and extremely scarce. Next, we have a similar graph. We have the price of Bitcoin going up, the amount of reserves going down, and we have the amount of stablecoins going down as well. So this is a bullish indicator. Stablecoins are going down, which indicates that it is being deployed to purchase Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Next, let's take a look at the supply shock ratio. So the black line represents the price of Bitcoin, and the blue line represents the illiquid supply shock ratio. As we can see here in May and June, there was a bullish divergence where the blue line went up while the price of Bitcoin went down. So this is a bullish signal letting us know that the price of Bitcoin will eventually reverse and go higher. So the blue line is a leading indicator on Bitcoin's price. So let's take a look at the right-hand side of the graph in September, where the illiquid supply shock ratio is going up while the price of Bitcoin is going down. So this is a bullish indicator letting us know that the price of Bitcoin will eventually reverse and continue higher. So here's another graph showing the illiquid supply. So the blue area represents the supply that has not moved. So these are people hodling their coins and not selling it. Right now, there's approximately 14.4 million Bitcoins that are being hodled. People are not selling, which means that the supply of Bitcoin is extremely scarce. Here's another chart showing that people are accumulating and they're not letting go of their Bitcoin. Here's a chart of the supply held by retail. By retail, we mean anybody holding less than 10 Bitcoins. As you can see, the amount of people holding less than 10 Bitcoins are increasing and has hit an all-time high. Now take a look at this chart. This chart shows the supply of Bitcoin that has not moved in 10 years or more. The Bitcoin amount of supply that was last active 10 years or more just reached an all-time high at 2.3 million Bitcoins, which is incredible. So here we have the spent volume age comparison. So this graph looks kind of confusing, so let me break it down for you. The colored lines at the bottom represents the age of different coins that were spent. So for example, the green line represents Bitcoins that were 2 to 3 years old that were spent. The yellow line represents Bitcoins that are 1 week to 1 month old, etc. So basically, what you're seeing on this chart is that there is a downtrend, suggesting that the older coins moving on-chain is gradually decreasing because larger and more experienced Bitcoin holders are not inclined to sell. Let's take a look at the supply shock ratio. Here, the black line represents the price of Bitcoin, and the green line represents the long-term supply shock ratio. So what you'll notice is that the green line will hit the shaded area at the top, showing a supply squeeze. indicating that the price of Bitcoin will continue higher. We have a supply squeeze here and another supply squeeze here, indicating that the price of Bitcoin will continue higher. And right now, we are approaching another supply squeeze. So this is a bullish signal for Bitcoin. Now, let's change gears and take a look at what the miners are doing. So this chart shows the balance in miners' wallets. So in this chart, the black line represents the price of Bitcoin, and the orange line represents the balance in miners' wallets. Looking at the orange line, there has been up and downs, but the overall trend is going up, suggesting that miners are now in accumulation phase and are not selling their Bitcoin, which is a very bullish sign. Now let's take a look at the Bitcoin mining hash rate. Now we know that Bitcoin's price always follows the hash rate. So in July, we had a huge dip in hash rate because China kicked out some of their miners. The miners relocated to El Salvador, some relocated to Texas, and now the hash rate has recovered 54% from its low. So this is an extremely bullish signal for Bitcoin because as the hash rate goes up, the price always follows. All the on-chain analysis shows that Bitcoin is about to go higher. But how high can it go? I'm going to answer that question, and the answer will shock you. So you want to watch to the end of the video. Now, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel. We really do appreciate your support. So let's get back into it. So to answer the question, how high can Bitcoin go? Let's take a look at the history of Bitcoin and the monthly returns. As we can see from this chart, September has normally been bearish for Bitcoin. Mostly everything's in the red. However, October, November, December is usually bullish. For example, in October of 2013, there was a 60% return. In October 2017, there was a 47% return. So we expect the same thing to happen this quarter as well. We expect the price of Bitcoin to go much higher in the fourth quarter of this year, and we expect the price to go higher in October and November. Here, we're comparing the price of Bitcoin in 2013 to the price of Bitcoin in 2021. Here, we can see that the price action is very similar. So in 2013, the price action went up to 1, down to 2, 3, 4, 5 in a zigzag pattern. So the price action in 2021 is very similar. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the on-chain metrics shows that Bitcoin is ready to move into stage 5. So let's take a look at this graph. We're comparing 2013, 2017, and 2021. And we're comparing these 3 years because they are all 1 year after the halving event. Now, 2013 and 2021 are most similar. So in 2013, there was a double pump, meaning that the price hit an all-time high, it dipped a little bit, and then it made a second high. And we expect the same thing to happen in 2021. Now, in 2021, we also expect a double pump, meaning that the price went up, hit an all-time high, it dipped, and all the on-chain metrics indicate that it's about to hit another all-time high. Now, due to the Bitcoin halving event, which happens every 4 years, where the supply of Bitcoin gets reduced by half, the price action of Bitcoin moves in cycles. So take a look at this chart. Here is the price of Bitcoin in July 2013. And in the fourth quarter of 2013, the price went up. In July 2017, the price of Bitcoin was here. And in the fourth quarter of 2017, the price went up. Now, take a look at July 2021. Here's the price of Bitcoin. And if it follows the same cycle, we expect the price to be much higher in the fourth quarter of 2021. Now, let's take a look at the stock-to-flow model developed by PlanB. So this dark line represents the stock-to-flow ratio. So how the ratio is calculated is that you divide the stock, which is the amount of Bitcoin in circulation, divided by the flow, which is the amount of newly minted Bitcoins. And a high stock-to-flow ratio means that Bitcoin is becoming more scarce. The rainbow colored lines represents the price of Bitcoin. And as you can see, the price of Bitcoin is following the stock to flow ratio. And according to this model, the price of Bitcoin could hit $100,000 by Q4 of this year. So PlanB developed the stock to flow model. And in June, he made the following prediction. He predicted that the price of Bitcoin will be $47,000 in August. In September, the price of Bitcoin will be $43,000. And he's pretty accurate. Currently, right now, the price of Bitcoin is hovering around this $43,000 mark. In October, Bitcoin will be around $63,000. In November, Bitcoin will be $98,000. And in December, Bitcoin will be $135,000. Now, in our view, Bitcoin can actually go higher than $135,000 under certain conditions. So what are those conditions? Well, if we have a Bitcoin ETF that gets approved, that will send the price of Bitcoin much higher. And there are rumors that a Bitcoin ETF might be approved in October. Now, we know that Fidelity has lobbied SEC to approve a Bitcoin ETF in a private meeting. So what could the price of Bitcoin be if an ETF was approved? Well, this graph might give us a clue. So this graph shows the first gold ETF listed on the New York Stock Exchange in November 2004. And as you can see, the price skyrocketed ever since that happened. As you can see, all the on-chain analysis indicates that Bitcoin is ready to go higher. Q4 and even Q1 of next year could be huge. And financial freedom could be just around the corner. Well, that's it for me. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye. Goodbye.